If you've ever stepped outside on a freezing morning and felt your rubber boots stiffen like boards, or watched your car's wiper blades turn brittle in the cold, you already understand a problem that plagued armies and industries alike during World War II. Rubber, that miracle material of the early 20th century, had one major flaw. It turned rigid when the temperature dropped. But deep in the laboratories of wartime research centres, scientists developed a forgotten blend that refused to freeze. A flexible rubber compound that could bend, stretch and grip even in sub-zero conditions. This was the unsung material that kept convoys moving through Siberia, aircraft landing in Arctic storms, and soldiers' feet from turning to stone in the snow. The story begins with the global rubber crisis of World War II. When Japan seized control of Southeast Asia in 1942, it cut off nearly 90% of the world's natural rubber supply. The Allied forces faced an industrial nightmare. Everything from tyres and gaskets to gas masks and waterproof boots relied on rubber. Without it, entire military operations could grind to a halt. Desperate for a substitute, the United States, Britain and the Soviet Union launched massive research programs to develop synthetic rubber alternatives. While most people have heard of Buna or neoprene, few know about the cold-resistant compound that quietly revolutionized winter warfare. A special blend of natural rubber and styrene, butadiene, or SBR, engineered to remain flexible even below freezing. This was not just about keeping machines running, it was about survival. In the Arctic convoys supplying the Soviet front, trucks fitted with ordinary tyres froze solid overnight. Hoses cracked, seals broke. Even boots stiffened so badly that soldiers had to heat them over fires just to put them on. Engineers needed a rubber that could bend like spring steel in the cold. Scientists found the secret in balancing natural and synthetic bonds. The key breakthrough came when chemists discovered that blending natural rubber with synthetic SBR in specific ratios could retain elasticity under extreme temperatures. Pure natural rubber was soft and resilient in warm conditions, but became glassy and brittle in frost. Pure synthetics were durable, but often too rigid. By combining the two, scientists achieved a molecular structure that maintained flexibility without sacrificing strength. At the US Rubber Company and the British Rubber Producers Research Association, chemists, especially those following in the footsteps of Wallace Carruthers, really leaned into the emerging science of polymers. They focused on adjusting chain lengths and cross-linking patterns, which, made all the difference. By vulcanizing the blend with sulfur and adding just small amounts of oil plasticizers, they managed to create a rubber that stayed pliable all the way down to -40 degrees Celsius. Before long, this new material found its way into winterized truck tires, flexible hoses for fuel transport, aircraft seals, and those Arctic boots worn by soldiers stationed in Alaska, Norway, and northern Russia. To really understand the impact, you have to picture the conditions faced by Allied sailors and drivers along the Arctic supply lines between 1942 and 1944. Temperatures dropped to -50 degrees Celsius, ice would form on decks thicker than armor plate, and vehicles on the Soviet side had to crawl across frozen tundra where, honestly, metal itself could snap. Ordinary tyres made from pre-war rubber would just shatter like glass at those temperatures. But vehicles fitted with the new Cold Flex rubber blend, kept moving. Fuel hoses using this compound didn't crack. Aircraft landing gear managed those icy runways, and communication cables insulated with the material stayed flexible enough to coil without breaking. It was really a quiet, unseen victory, the kind that never made headlines, but in truth kept the whole war machine functioning. After the war, post-war industries quietly adopted this rubber, and then, well, pretty much forgot about it. The resilient blend kept serving in cold weather industries, particularly up in Northern Europe and Canada. You'd find it in mining boots, seals for refrigeration systems, and, believe it or not, even in early snowmobile tracks. But as petroleum-based synthetics like neoprene and NBR or nitrile rubber became cheaper to produce, the original Cold Flex compound was gradually phased out. Ironically, many modern rubber products are, frankly, less durable in freezing weather than those old wartime ones. The push for cost efficiency replaced careful blending and vulcanization control with mass production shortcuts. That old wartime formula, you see, required real precision, exact temperatures, curing times and ratios, something not so easily done in a profit-driven peacetime market. Yet, for those who knew its capabilities, the blend became a benchmark of quality. Cold weather engineers and polar explorers in the 1950s often sought out surplus military stockpiles of Arctic rubber, knowing it could outlast most post-war products. How modern survivalists can apply the same principles today. For enthusiasts interested in fieldcraft or DIY gear, the lessons from this forgotten rubber are still valuable. The core principle is that flexibility in cold conditions comes from plasticizers and polymer balance, not just thickness. If you're working with rubber equipment in freezing environments, hoses, boots or seals, conditioning them with a light coating of silicone oil or glycerin can restore pliability, much like the wartime engineers did by adding oil blends. Similarly, when repairing or crafting cold weather gear, choosing materials labelled SBR blend or EPDM often mirrors the properties of the World War II Cold Flex compound. These modern formulations carry the same lineage of polymer science discovered under wartime pressure. For the hands-on survivalist, an even simpler step can make a difference. Never store rubber equipment under tension in the cold. Just as the wartime rubber retained flexibility by avoiding internal stress, modern rubbers benefit from being relaxed and insulated when not in use. The forgotten blend reminds us that innovation often comes from necessity. You know, it's easy to think of technological progress as a straight line forward, but the story of Cold Flex rubber shows that innovation often spikes in moments of desperation. Wartime necessity pushed scientists to experiment beyond convention, to blend nature and chemistry in ways that modern manufacturing rarely does. They weren't chasing convenience, they were chasing survival. That blend's DNA lives on today in countless materials. Cold-resistant tires, diving suits, and aerospace seals all owe something to those 1940s breakthroughs. Yet the original formulation, the one that stayed supple in Arctic storms and Siberian Paterfon. What it teaches us is that longevity and reliability often come from craftsmanship and understanding materials, not from marketing labels. The men who made that rubber weren't just chemists. They were problem solvers working under fire, crafting something built to last. The next time you pull on a pair of insulated boots or start a vehicle in freezing weather, remember that those conveniences trace back to a handful of scientists in the 1940s who refused to accept that rubber had limits. Their forgotten blend bridged nature and science in one of the most extreme testing grounds imaginable. And it worked. If you enjoy uncovering the hidden technologies and survival lessons buried in history, make sure to subscribe to In the Beginning and share this story with others who appreciate the forgotten brilliance of wartime ingenuity. The past still has lessons to teach us, and sometimes those lessons are as flexible as the rubber that defied the ice.